you.
So Prince William, here we are, and you're back in the US. Last time was in Boston for the Earthshot Prize second award ceremony. And I hear that you haven't been in New York for a little while, but you've been busy. You were at the Billion Oyster Project yesterday, and so I heard. Is it true? Did you go running in Central Park this morning?
I did, Vita, yes. I decided to join the hordes of New Yorkers doing their morning routine as they went around Central Park. But it was wonderful waking up in New York on a sunny morning rather than the rain we had yesterday. And it was beautiful getting some fresh air this morning. But it's been wonderful being back. It's been, I think 2014 was the last time I was here in New York. I've been trying to come back for a couple of years, but with COVID and my grandmother passing away last year has not meant it able to come. So I'm thrilled to be back this time.
Well, wonderful. We're very happy that you're here this year. And before we get started, I know you don't really do these fireside chats so often, so I hope you're ready for some tough questions.
Definitely. You're going to grill me, Vita, I know.
So we just heard Dr. Ngozi share that you founded the Earthshot Prize with the goal of searching for and scaling extraordinary solutions. Just like the work of 2022 winners that we've just heard about today and met, like Charlotte, Larissa, Talal, and the prize is now in its third year, and it is known globally. So I'd love for you to take us back to the start. Tell us, how did it all start, and what was the inspiration?
It was a very sweaty process, Vita, over many years. But I think, to start back at the very beginning, I think it came about from a desire to see more change and to highlight wonderful people doing incredible things, as we've all seen today across the world. I'm very lucky that I get to meet a lot of people in different circumstances, and I kept being shown these amazing things that were happening, but I just felt the impact from them wasn't being achieved, or the potential wasn't there when it could be. So I was thinking, how do we elevate? How do we scale this up? How do we allow more people to see this? And so a prize came out of sort of thinking. Mm-hmm. And it took us 18 months to 2 years to design the prize. We went through a number of other iterations where we were kind of like, do we go this way? Do we go that way? And eventually we settled on the prize. And my role in the design process was trying to convince everyone it wouldn't work. Because what I was afraid of was that if we designed the prize and I was there going, yeah, this is a great idea, I had to then sell it for 10 years. It wasn't going to be very good. So it had to be a case of me looking at it going, now hang on, how can we make this better? Is this something that has got legs? Mm-hmm. Is it credible? And will it achieve the desired outcome? And I think going through the process as we designed it, we were thinking, where else in history has there ever been something like this, where we're asking people to come together and tackle some of society's and life's greatest challenges? And that's when the moonshot sort of hit us. And we were looking through JFK's speeches and JFK's moonshot. And it struck us that this was hugely ambitious at the time. I think it took him 7 years to conduct his moonshot. And he had 400,000 engineers and scientists working on it. And some of the things that we all take for granted nowadays, like even solar panels, all came out of the moonshot development phase. So that really inspired me, and I thought, hang on, if even we get one of those to come out of 10 years worth of Earthshot, then it's worth it.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. I mean, look at what we've already accomplished in already 2 years and way more to come. And, I think now we are all embarking on this Earthshot and are 100% committed to doing so. And, to the theme of our session, where innovation meets optimism, I think it's important to recognize and address the extreme weather events that have been taking place constantly over the last 3 decades, but even more so this summer. I felt like every time I checked the news, the headlines were always there, from the fires in Maui and Canada, the floods in Libya, and now 2023 has been recorded the hottest year. So with this constant news of tragedy and bad news of its How do you keep optimistic?
Well, as we've seen today, the Earthshot winners and the finalists create that inspiration, that optimism. And I think we've got to hang on to optimism and hope because it is the biggest driver of change. It is the biggest driver of innovation. I think if we remark on how so pessimistic and doom and gloom everything is, even though there is a healthy dose of that needed to make sure we're all being kept in reality, it doesn't provoke the reaction from us humans as we would like. Yeah. And I think that's been an important part of the prize's design and development, is that not just to provide the solutions, but it's the fact to make people believe there is hope and there are people out there doing incredible things that will have a massive impact on our futures.
Yeah, I mean, I think just seeing all these stories of these innovators, people really making change happen, not just talking about what we would like to do and hoping, but really driving that action has been quite inspiring, I think, for the future next generations. And, I think something that keeps us optimistic as well is for sure the solution that we're working on, but also the people with whom we are working on this with. And you have quite a dream team, I have to say. So, when you reflect on what you and your incredible team have accomplished to date, and when you look into the future, where do you dream that this prize will go?
I think for now, we're kind of keen on the scale. That's what I've been working on quite heavily, is how do we scale all the things you're seeing today? Because over 10 years, we're going to have a lot of finalists and a lot of solutions. So if you take the optimism and hope as given, when we do the solutions and when we scale them up, how can we have the biggest change? And I think for me, that's something I haven't quite cracked yet is how do we scale faster? Mm-hmm. I'm impatient with all this, as you well know, Vater. And so it's kind of, I feel my role, you guys provide the product and you guys provide the inspiration and the solution. My role is to get you as big, as fast, and as scalable as possible. And I think we've still got some work to do on that. And I'm hoping in Singapore in November, we've got an Earthshot week where we've got a lot of business and backers coming. I think if I can reach more investors and people see this isn't a philanthropic thing, we're not doing this to be philanthropic, we're doing this because the vast majority of these solutions are commercially viable. I think that will help people realize and understand that this has got legs of its own and the momentum will take it forwards. Because I think, 10 years down the line, this is the decade of change we've talked about. 10 years down the line, when we look back, I want to make sure that we've found the right solutions, we've found the right people, but we're also maximizing their impact. And I think, I'm already starting to think about after 10 years, what happens? And many people are already asking me that question. And I'll need a few brains in this room to help me work out what we do next. But it's, I'm really pleased with the team and how we've achieved the first 3 years. It's gone better than I hoped, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we can see already the achievements coming through. And, when I think about what happens at the end of this decade and when I see all the work that's already been done and the categories that we're really addressing, I think, you're part of this generational movement that is providing a livable future for our children and grandchildren. I do want to come back to the scaling question later, but we'll keep that one for now and first talk about global collaboration because we've seen today that the Earthshot Prize finalists are coming from all over the world. We've seen today from Australia, India, Oman, and Kenya. So this is a truly worldwide cohort that you're bringing together. So in your own words, why do you believe that global collaboration is important to reach your mission?
So I'm a big believer in a big team. Mm-hmm. I don't think any solutions in the world can ever be achieved by yourself. And one of my roles has always been to build coalitions, to build relationships, build teams, and this is no different. I'm building an enormous team of brilliant people and letting them crack on and do the work that needs to be done. So I think that's really important to kind of have the dynamism, the innovation, and the drive that you all have, and you've demonstrated in your ways. And all we're doing is providing you with a leg up to become a household name and to have the visibility to the right people. But as an example, I think for everyone here, one of the things that comes out of this is that on a collaboration level that wasn't intended but is happening is Costa Rica won in 2021. They completely off their own backs because they take this very seriously and they take pride in the environment. They reached out to another finalist called Restore, which is effectively a data company that monitors carbon sinks amongst other things. And together, they're monitoring 5,000 reforestation projects in Costa Rica. So it's the first public, effectively independent public verifier of national policy on forestation. And they'll hold them to that account, they'll have the data, and they'll drive that forwards. And so these collaborations are happening without us even trying. And that's the kind of thing over the next few years. We want to see more and more of that going. But again, these things can happen with the support of the wider society around them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you know about this, but we are talking about an Earthshot village, right, where we can bring all of our solutions together. So I think it's all coming together. I think it's time for the scaling question because we won't reach all of our targets and actually realize this ambition that we have if we don't have exponential growth and if we don't actually get these solutions to scale. And so we've heard this topic quite mentioned oftentimes today, and even by yourself. So I'm wondering, how can people here today get behind these solutions, and what does scaling these products and solutions, for example, like Takachar, one of the winners from 2021, what does that mean to scale those solutions?
So Takachar, for anyone who doesn't know, is they won in 2021, a fantastic Indian designer who created effectively a mobile furnace, if you like, that can be transported around farms in India. He was trying to develop and tackle the smog and the pollution from when they burn the crops in Delhi. And it effectively cuts out 98% of smoke pollution, and the offcuts and the offshoots of, or the waste from the farm go into the furnace and are burnt into fertilizer rather than being burnt into the atmosphere in a fire. So the farmers can then reclaim, reuse, and sell on effectively their fertilizer. He reckons with scale that he can reduce 1 billion tons of CO2. Wow. Get my stats right. So it's really important that we can get these things to scale because they can have huge impact. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, the Nopla guys did a brilliant presentation, and we regularly get them to come up and talk about it because they're a good double act. But they also present a wonderful project and a vision for what scaling really looks like. And I think that's what gives us all hope and inspiration and optimism, that you guys have this journey and we're here to facilitate and promote your journey to achieving greater things.
I mean, I can definitely talk about this in first person, right? Because this is exactly what you have enabled us to do at Enapture, in the sense that, you know, when we won the prize, we were building a still modular and scalable product, but it was still in the kilowatt range, quite small, microwave size, apparently some are calling it. And now more than 3,700 are running around the world on green hydrogen. Then just today, we announced our new product, which is actually 50 times the capacity of that. And later this year, an even bigger one will be delivered for both refueling stations in the Netherlands and also for a research center at an airport. And this has all been thanks to the visibility that we've had and also the awareness of green hydrogen, the fact that it is an alternative fuel that is coming and wouldn't have been possible without you, and also the modularity and scalability of our product. So it's a good teamwork.
That's what we're talking about.
There we go.
That's the scaling right there, Vater.
So, you know, we've heard about how unique the Earthshot Prize is, and also something else worth mentioning that we haven't yet talked about is actually the fellowship experience, right? We've seen the work of the next 15 cohorts, super exciting, and 5 of them will receive £1 million in prize this year in Singapore. But all of them do get support and are mentored by the Earthshot Prize community. Do you want to tell us a few words about that?
Sure. So I think the headlines are always about the £1 million, and you'll attest to how much for a startup that matters. But I think you'll also be able to attest the fact that what goes on behind the scenes in the fellowship program is equally as important. It's the idea that we give them a giant leap, effectively. So for a year, they'll receive all sorts of mentorship, training, support, resources, whatever they might need is tailored to their needs. Because a lot of these guys and girls and the companies come through and they're at such an early stage that they really need the guardrails to help launch them off. And so the fellowship program takes them, looks after them, holds their hand effectively, and introduces them to some incredible people, Bill Gates, Mike Bloomberg, and all the team here who've been with this on the Earthshot journey from the beginning, provide such important support to allow them to reach their best potential.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely benefited from a lot of this expertise. So, I think as we're starting to wrap up, we know the prize is happening in Singapore. And so I think everyone's kind of curious to know, well, what was appealing to you for bringing the prize actually to Southeast Asia?
So part of the Earthshot, as we talked about, is the global aspect of it. We want to get it around the world. We want to see new solutions in different places. We want to work with those existing ones we work with, but we also want to open up new chapters, new areas. And I think with Singapore, it's a gateway to Southeast Asia. It's a new region. We know the innovation sectors there are huge, and the technology is booming there. Singapore is a city in nature, so they get it. And we heard the foreign minister talk about it earlier. So it's really exciting what's going to happen in Singapore. And we take our time over trying to work out where is the next place to go. And we're super excited about going to Singapore.
Yeah, I mean, I think so are we. And so, I mean, just to make sure we are super excited, you will be in Singapore.
I'll be in Singapore.
Correct. So. Wonderful. Well, Prince William, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.